Wednesday, we had a political assassination with Charlie Kirk being gunned down here in Utah. I've thought a lot. You think of political assassinations, and if you go back and you pull up something all the time around the world throughout history, you think in our nation, I go back just in my lifetime, shortly after, a couple years after I was born, John F. Kennedy was shot down. His brother, RFK, was shot down a few years later. And then you start looking at the reasons on why. Now, JFK, they still don't know whether, we could spend a whole night on that one. But RFK, Sirhan, he didn't like his position against pro-Israel. And that the year before, for the Six-Day War, he had helped get airplanes over there, United States airplanes, to support Israel. Isn't that amazing that a Democrat supported Israel? Think of Martin Luther King, which you call political assassination. You look at what MLK was, what he stood for, the quality of the character. He wanted to get away from looking at skin and racism, and he was killed. Go back to Abraham Lincoln, probably one of the greatest presidents the nation's ever had, who was killed by racism. 3 days prior to his assassination, he had had a speech where he talked about suffrage, the ability of African-American soldiers who had fought for the Union to be given the right to vote. And Booth said that's the last speech he'll ever give. Donald Trump had two, and some people say there were 3 attempts. 2 attempts on his life. One of them came that close. You look at what some of these people stood for, and they were speaking truth. They were doing what was right for the nation. You look at Charlie Kirk, what he stood for. He stood for the nuclear family, and he wanted people to have children because he knows that the nuclear family and people raising children in that home is what will save a nation. He spoke against abortion. Now, having all 4 of my kids being adopted, you can imagine I'm very much pro-life on that. I can't imagine any of my kids if their mothers had taken a different course. He spoke on only 2 sexes. There's an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. Imagine that. And that's probably why he was, the person who took him out. Freedom of speech. I've spent a lot of time over the last week watching different Charlie Kirk videos because you hear what a racist was, what a terrible person, what he spoke for. And he's asking these college students that he got so involved for critical thinking. He just wanted critical thinking. Now, I don't know that I agreed with all of his points of view, but I sure do agree that he wanted dialogue, and he did not deserve that. And you look at the hatred and the vitriol that has risen up over the last week. I don't know where we go next. I worry about some of those other commentators who've said, we're still going to go out on a tour, we're still going to have this. I can't imagine what happens if Megyn Kelly, when she goes out in the near future, if something happened to her, or Tucker Carlson, or you can go on and on. And yet, it can start with each one of us on how do we react or how do we address those we disagree with? Sometimes vehemently. I have a son who is a socialist, and we don't talk about it much at home, but I try to tell him that socialism has never worked. It's been out there. He talks about Sweden. I go, yeah, it was in Sweden, but it didn't work. And that's why I went away from it in the 70s or in the 90s, because between 70 and 90, it almost destroyed the country. He doesn't believe me, but I just wanted, each one of us has the opportunity to stand up for what is right. But we have a responsibility to care for those around us, whether we agree with them or not. And so I just wanted to pay tribute to Charlie Kirk and his life and what he stood for, but even if you didn't agree with what he stood for, his right to believe in what he believed. And we have an opportunity to treat others respectfully and not let something like this go on. And with that, I'll offer a word of prayer. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity which we have this evening to be here for a city council meeting. We're thankful for the nation in which we live. We're thankful for the inherent rights which have been bestowed upon us in this nation. We pray that we might uphold those rights. We pray for the residents of this great city in which we live and for those city employees who work diligently and tirelessly to support and help the residents. We pray for our nation at this time. We pray that the anger and hatred that is out there that keeps growing, that it might be assuaged and it might soften. Help us each to do our part. In this we pray humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So if you could please stand and I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Oaks, thank you. Appreciate that. Councilmember Nate Jackson is excused tonight, and we have 2 changes to our agenda. Item number 3C and item number 3D will be postponed to a future council meeting. We don't have anyone signed up tonight to speak during call to the public, so we will continue with our agenda to presentations and awards. Councilmember Oaks will read a proclamation declaring September 27th through October 5th as Blue Star Welcome Week.
The Blue Star Welcome Week proclamation. Whereas Blue Star families seek to empower military families by connecting them with their neighbors, individuals, and organizations to create vibrant communities of mutual support. And whereas Blue Star Families annually designates the week beginning the 4th Saturday in September and concluding 8 days thereafter as Blue Star Welcome Week. And whereas during the week we recognize the 600,000 military families who move to new communities each year. And whereas only 39% of military family respondents to the 2024 Military Lifestyle Survey reported feeling a sense of belonging to their local civilian community. And whereas a sense of belonging is essential to the well-being and readiness of military families, and whereas we commit to ensuring that military and veteran families feel a strong sense of belonging to their local civilian communities, and whereas we express gratitude for the sacrifices made by service members and their families, and whereas we encourage community members nationwide to do their part and welcome military and veteran families into the communities, therefore, Tamara Tran, Mayor of Kaysville City, together with the Kaysville City Council, do hereby proclaim September 27th through October 5th, 2025 as Blue Star Welcome Week in the city of Kaysville, Utah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Our next proclamation is declaring October 5th through 11th, 2025 as Kaysville City Fire Prevention Week. Chief.
You want me to read it now?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, council, city leaders, residents of Kaysville, thank you for your time this evening. Whereas planning, preparedness, and situational awareness are critical to surviving home fires, this message behind this year's Fire Prevention Week is charge into fire safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home. The reason why we have this, Fire Prevention Week is the longest sitting safety campaign in our nation. Started off in 1922, and then in 1925, President Calhoun Coolidge proclaimed Fire Prevention Week as a national observant. Basically, some bad fires that we've had, Wisconsin being the worst one, and the Chicago fire, of course. So just kind of paraphrasing this, Kaysville first responders are dedicated to reducing our current occurrence of home fires and injuries through prevention and protection education. Correspondingly, Kaysville personnel responsible to public education measures can take action to increase their safety from fires, especially in their homes. So the campaign is specifically on how to dispose of, how to take care of your batteries in your home. As you well know, or maybe you don't know, batteries, especially in EV cars, they're very dangerous for us. Technology is changing all the time on how to put these fires out. They don't like water, so that's the main thing. They explode and crackle. Therefore, being it resolved that Mayor Tamara Tran, Kaysville City Mayor, and Kaysville City Council members proclaim October 5th through the 11th, 2025 as Fire Prevention Week throughout Kaysville City. I encourage everyone in Kaysville to be aware of your surroundings, look for available ways during a fire and other emergencies, and respond immediately when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for being here, everyone,
Hey,
from your team.
will you please tell what time and what day fire
Yeah, sorry.
prevention?
Yes, go ahead and talk.
We are having our open house. We will have it on our billboards starting next week. We didn't want to do it too soon, but 6 o'clock on the 1st of October is our open house. It'll be on the one down at Barnes Park. We'll have a couple signs up. Parks and Rec's going to put them up, and then it'll be on the marquee here as well.
And Chief, will you let people know what type of open house that is? That is just for
Yeah,
people to...
the flyer will go out.
Okay.
We'll post it on our website, and
Okay.
you know how if you give it too soon,
Yeah, and everybody's welcome.
yeah, absolutely, everybody's welcome.
Okay, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Suzanne. My pleasure. Ma'am, you want to sign?
Yes, sir.
Chick-fil-A or
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
We are so grateful for our fire department. We have an amazing fire department, and they do an incredible job for us. All right.
Thank
Can we- Thank you. All right, our next presentation will be presented by Melinda Greenwood, Director of Community Development.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Yeah, so this is my annual report to just kind of brief not only you, but the community as to what Community Development Department does. And so I have several slides. I'll go through them pretty quickly. Want to share a couple of kind of anecdotal stories through this. But community development encompasses essentially 4 types of services. We have our building division. They do plan reviews, we issue building permits, and they do building inspections. We also have our business licensing. Mindy also does a business support group with that. We have our planning and zoning, and then code enforcement. So it's just an organizational chart that shows our staff, what positions they have. We do have an open inspector position right now. They held 1 interview today. We have 4 candidates, I think, total that we're going to interview. And then we have our permit techs, Becky and April. I mentioned business licensing, which is Mindy. Our building official, Jim Day. Planning and zoning, we have our senior planner, Ann, who's been with us a little over a year now. And then on the code enforcement side, Ann, Mindy, and myself kind of tag team those efforts. One of the unique things about my department is that we actually receive revenues. People pay for their business licenses, and that has been a very steady income stream for the city, especially the last few years, hovering right around 80,000. Planning and zoning ebbs and flows depending on what applications we get in, building permits, and then our plan check fees. So last year, our revenues were a little bit lower. This year, they're higher, which is, I think, a good sign. But you can see here that for fiscal year 25, so that's the June 30th, the fiscal year that just ended, my total combination of revenues for the departments was $591,295. Building division, again, we all do all the building permits. This last column is 2025 year to date, so that looks a little bit low, but that's because we haven't completed the calendar year. So this is being tracked on the calendar year versus the fiscal year. So we have had a decline in permits since 2021. That's, I think, kind of normal throughout not only the state, but I think the country. There's just been, with high interest rates, things like that, there hasn't been quite as much movement with new builds and those types of things. But we're on track, I think, to have a similar amount of permits this year by the end of the year as we have the last couple of years prior. Most of our building permits are for some type of residential services or residential projects. We've had 36 building permits come through year to date this year that are commercial. Those include sign permits, that would be tenant improvements. We've had a few new buildings that have come up. We have the LDS Stake Center that's currently, they just pulled a building permit. Lifetime Dental, that's up near where the old Benion's Crafts was. That's a new building that's under construction right now as well. And then the new home permits. So the system that we use tracks single family and townhomes as single family. But we are at 51 permits year to date. And we do have some larger projects that have just started. We have our Flint Acres just north of the Smith's Marketplace, so we've issued, I think, about 8 building permits for that project right now, and would anticipate, of course, as that progresses, we'll be issuing more. The inspections is just kind of interesting information to see how many inspections that we do a year. You know, with about 600 permits, you might think we do 600 inspections, but it's a lot more than that because you have separate type of inspections. You have your plumbing, HVAC, electrical, structural. And so, you know, one project may receive, I mean, at least 4 or 5 inspections, could be more if things need to be re-inspected. I just thought that was some interesting information. I did want to share that the last couple years, we have been a little bit slower, and our permit tech staff, April and Becky, have taken that time to look at old permits, permits that have been expired. We take bonds for like a completion bond when we issue a permit, and there were bonds that hadn't been returned back to the user. We've written some bonds off, so they've done a lot of work with that the last couple years. Earlier this year, they started looking at old swimming pool permits. Now, our zoning code has a provision in there that says that if you have a pool, you have to have a fenced yard. The fence has to be at least 5 feet tall. So they went back to, I think, 2016 and looked through about 150 different permits that have been issued for pools since 2016. And they, again, during downtime, they had the inspectors go out and ensure that each of those pools or permitted pools had a fence in place. And there were 5 or 6 that they found that did not have a fence. And so we've gone back and been able to require that fence be put up and protect the community from, right, you want that fence. The building code does have certain requirements for pools, but we go above and beyond with that requirement in our zoning code to have that 5-foot barrier that just protects, you know, whether it's children, pets, whatever, it just gives an extra level of protection. So that's been a great thing that both April and Becky have spent quite a bit of time on. So business licensing, we're very steady with our revenue stream on business licensing and the number of businesses licenses that we have. You can notice that around 2020 and 21, there was a little bit of a drop off in some of those numbers, but we've been steadily back up to that around 1,100. Again, with we have this awesome thing here that Mindy does pretty much monthly. There's a couple months in the year where she doesn't do it, but this business support group. And when somebody signs up for a new business license, they have a chance to opt in, and then Mindy will send out messaging. She works with the DTC and their small business office there to really kind of help businesses network with each other. I know, Mayor, you've attended these meetings several times, and Councilmember Oaks, you have as well. And there's been times in the past where we thought, like, is it really worth it? There's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. Mindy's really adapted and kind of created a space where she's gotten more participation in the last probably 18 months, 2 years with her efforts with that. And in the end, we kind of concluded, like, even if we only help 1 or 2 businesses a year, that's still worth it. And so she'll invite new businesses to come and present, and then they just kind of network and share. So that's been some really great work that Mindy has been doing. Planning and zoning, so far this year we have processed over 40 applications. Year prior it was 32, so we've been a little bit busier this year than we were last year. We've had, and actually I don't see on here, we've had several lot line adjustments. One of the challenges with planning and zoning or land use is that the state legislature makes changes every year to what we are required to do or what we can and can't do legally, and so it's a lot to keep up on that, but we've worked to implement recently, especially with Katie Ellis, our assistant city attorney that's been here. There were some changes, she's been here for a week. There were some changes that the state code or this legislature made earlier this year in how we process boundary line adjustments, previously known as lot line adjustments. And so we had a meeting with her the other day. We need to get in and make changes to our applications so that it's in line with state code. But we receive several lot line adjustments every year as well. So that's been a big project as well. We've been working on, based off of what the general plan said from 22, we've been working on the small area plan for the city center area, which is this Main Street 200 North, and just trying to work with the public and the business leaders or the business community to see what does Kaysville want to see in the future of the city center area, and conversely, what do we not want to see? So we anticipate we'll continue on with that project. We are adjusting some of our timelines on that slightly, and anticipate instead of adopting that by the end of the year, we'll probably be adopting that maybe in February. We're just going to take a slower pace on that. Another thing that we'll be working on, so the state legislature also put some requirements in, and we're perpetually behind. But I think it was not this last session, but the session in 24, where they put a requirement in to have all cities include a water conservation element in their general plans by the end of 2025. So I was able to get a grant from the state of about $15,000 to do the work on that. We had a kickoff meeting the other day. So we're going to kind of push the brakes a little bit on the small area plan, focus on getting that water element in that general plan and get that in front of the Planning Commission probably in November, and then the council in December to hopefully get that adopted. Lastly, I just wanted to go over some of our code enforcement numbers. It's been great again having Ann here. Her 1-year anniversary date was in June, and one of the things, code enforcement is really tough. It's tough on all parties. The neighbors who come in and complain usually are at their wits' end with the situation of whether it's, a rooster or, weeds. A lot of times people have unregistered vehicles or junk and debris in their yard. So usually when those come to us, people are already quite frustrated, and then we go and speak with the property owner, or we go out in the field and see if there's a violation and confirm that, and then the people who are, not in compliance or upset, it's a very hard thing that we do. So with having Ann here, one of the things that I wanted to try and do this year was get a little bit ahead of some of the things that we can. We know every year in Utah, weeds will grow. So earlier this year, we sent out, I think it was 65 letters to all of the individual properties that had weed enforcement cases from last year. And one of the things that was pointed out to me, you'll see here, if you look at the number at the very bottom row, weed cases from 2024 to 2025 have dropped in half. And I think that's a direct result of the efforts that we made to send up those letters proactively. So a lot of times you have the same people with the same offenses year after year. So that I think is a great success story, and we had the staff and they've kind of the expertise and the skill set to be able to do that. So I think that's been a really great outcome for us this year. We still, as you can see, have had a lot of code enforcement cases come in, even though the weeds have been half of what they are. And then I lastly just kind of wanted to go through the process real quickly. We do get questions from the public about how this works. In fact, I was able to have an email conversation with one of our council member candidates a couple months ago about how this works. As he was knocking on doors, people were asking questions about that. So it was a great opportunity to just kind of educate the public. But we have a form that gets submitted. People can call in, but there's an online form, and then we'll take the address or the location, and we'll go out and we'll field verify and see if there is a violation. Most of the time there is. There has been some times where it's like, yeah, those weeds aren't quite high enough. They're 8 inches or more is a violation. We'll take photos, we come back, we upload them into our system that we use to track the code enforcement cases, which is the same software we're using for our business licensing. And then sometimes we have to track down contact information, especially if it's a property owner that is, like it's a vacant property, that can be quite a challenge. We can get contact information through utility billing if it's, a residential property. Sometimes we have to coordinate with some of our other departments. We've actually even had some code enforcement cases that we've needed to coordinate with the fire department, but Public Works, if there's illicit discharge, if there's broken sidewalks, those types of things. We will oftentimes get complaints about illegal parking. That's really not something that my department can work on. We don't have the ability to issue citations, so we do send those over to the police department. In the last year, we've also had to coordinate with the health department, and then sometimes animal services as well. And then we go through a process where we get that contact information and we send a notice, and or sometimes we can do a courtesy call, and we'll let them know what the issue is, and then we usually give about 2 weeks for them to cure that violation. If that doesn't happen, we try again, give another deadline. Our goal here is always to have what we would term voluntary compliance, and it just is easier if you can work with a resident. And a lot of times there may be instances where there's health concerns or an inability to have maybe resources to maintain their property the way it should be. So we always want to be sensitive to those things, and there's been instances too where we've had people living in trailers illegally. We don't want to create a situation where we're putting people on the street, causing people to be homeless. We've had in the last year probably 7 or 8 short-term rental complaints that have come in. We do not allow short-term rentals in the city, and we've tried to work with those groups as well. Definitely trying to make sure they understand those aren't allowed, that they're illegal, but also not wanting to ruin somebody's vacation when they have a vacation planned the next week and somebody's going to come and have to find a different place to stay. So we always try and be as flexible as we can, as reasonable as we can, working towards that compliance. When all else fails, that's when we start working with Nick and Katie to try and put together a case where they would then screen and see if there's citations or charges that would need to be filed and then taking people to court. So that's kind of our last option, but a lot of times, you know, this takes much longer than what the public would like to see, and frankly, what we'd like to see would like everybody to be responsive on that first notice. But we do our best and work with both, you know, the violation party and the complainants to try and come to a resolve the best that we can. So that was all I had. If there's questions, I didn't go through all the statistics. If you are a statistics nerd, there was in the packet a lot more data and statistics that you could look at. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone?
Thank you.
Nope, all right. Thanks for your report. Okay, council, declarations, any conflicts of interest to declare as we move forward on our agenda? Nope, okay. Would someone like to make a motion on item 5, consent items?
I'll make a motion that we approve consent items A and B.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Nope, okay, seeing none, Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries, thank you. Action 6A, request to rezone 1.62 acres of property located at 2053 West Grassy Plain Drive from general commercial to R114 single family residential for Phil Holland. Melinda.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, again, this is at approximately 2053 West Grassy Plain Drive. A rezone from general commercial to R114. This, you can see here, the property with the rezone request is highlighted in blue. This is where the new LDS Stake Center will be. So the corner of Angel Street and 200 North. So this entire property is zoned central commercial. This back parcel really doesn't have great frontage for commercial. Let me go to the next slide. But you can see here the location of where that property is and the zoning of the area. The LDS Church is the R120. We have some R114, some light industrial, and then the general commercial, as well as some agriculture. So when we look at rezones, we like to look at the general plan to see what does the general plan guide us on this particular question. So this is kind of an odd one because generally speaking, you don't really rezone commercial property to residential. So there wasn't a whole lot in the general plan that pertained to this. But this particular, so this is from chapter 1 of the general plan, but the objective of just limiting change in functioning neighborhoods, going back to that screenshot here, with the residential that is surrounding this area, having that go to residential from the general commercial would actually be a little bit more in harmony with the existing residential uses that are there. We look at the future land use map. The future land use map, this is odd to me, but a future land use map actually does show this to be used as single family residential. So there may have in the process when the general plan was approved a mind to rezone this from general commercial to single family. So there is some support in the general plan for the rezone request. This item was in front of the Planning Commission on August 28th. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing. We had one resident that came in and commented. We didn't receive any emails on this either. The resident who did comment just asked if there would be some type of trees or something that could be planted to buffer his property. Our zoning code or our subdivision code doesn't have a requirement like that. But actually, I would think it would be more appropriate to have a buffer if it were to be used commercially versus now we have a single-family residential use backing up to a single-family residential use. Those are very compatible uses. The Planning Commission voted 7-0 to recommend approval, and so the recommendation here for this evening for the council is to consider that recommendation and approve the rezone from general commercial to R114. We do have truck leverage here this evening. The applicant, if there's questions for the applicant or for myself.
Okay, thank you. Council, do we have questions? I was gonna say, it's pretty straightforward. Single-family detached residential homes. About what size home, oh, come on up. What size home are you kind of planning? Because we don't have a
Square
site.
footage wise, these will probably be 3,000 to 4,500 square foot homes.
Okay,
So,
okay.
huh?
And four homes?
Yeah, it's 4 lots.
Okay,
All of them are 14,000, pretty much on the nose.
okay.
Give or take a couple square feet.
And access is from Grassy Plain Drive? Okay.
Yeah.
Will that be a cul-de-sac there then?
Well, so we just found out that there's a new ordinance or something to allow fire truck turnarounds to be through the driveways. And so we'll probably pursue that, so we don't have like a bond in place or something that, to tear out the cul-de-sac in the future. Because the main idea is to have, isn't it Preston Street where Pintail is? Preston Street and Grassy Plain Drive to connect and make that intersection.
Okay.
So we've talked to all of the property owners, and that's kind of what, at least our future plan is, to have some connectivity in there.
Okay. Sounds good. And I've driven around there today, and yeah, it seems to make sense.
Yeah.
At least from my perspective.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So it would potentially eventually connect from
Right
here
there.
over to here.
That's kind of what our thought has been
Okay.
this whole time.
So then in that case, it would end up kind of being another, almost a dead-end street, but the hammerhead would be the driveways, and there would just be kind of, like you just take that box and cut it in 4, and that's your 4 lots.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. It's pretty simple.
But you don't own the property over at the end of Preston, right?
No, that is another property owner,
Okay.
and we've been in talks with
Okay,
all
so
of the
maybe
people in this
future-
area. Yeah,
okay.
this is more of future
Future plan.
long-term planning.
Okay. Perry, or Councilmember Oaks, did you have a question?
No,
Okay.
I was just doing math, and
In
you
your-
should never do math in public, because I thought there might be one more lot in there when you, 1.6 acres, so.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the road takes out
Yeah.
that remaining.
That's what I figured it would be, so, okay.
Okay, I'm just randomly curious, so 4,000 to 5,000 square feet homes, price range-ish?
You know, with the market, you know, I don't.
Right, I mean,
I don't
we're not
know.
holding you to a price, but I'm just curious,
Yeah.
what are you seeing in terms of prices?
Mid-7s.
Okay.
Low 8s, maybe more, depending, you know?
Okay,
And so there's some comps up in Layton that I think are right around that range.
really? Okay.
Yeah, except the lots in Layton are a little bigger, so I'm kind of just doing a little bit of guesswork. Though the ones in Layton are half acres, these are 14, so.
But we are Kaysville.
Huh?
We are Kaysville.
We are
Yeah,
Kaysville, so
right.
maybe there isn't that much of an adjustment, so, yeah.
Right, well, and what's the style? What style homes? Would be custom builds for people, or,
Yeah, semi-custom, nice homes.
okay, like porches, or what?
I think that one's up to
Okay.
what the homeowner wants,
Okay,
but
so
all of these
pretty
are
open to what
yeah,
they want to
yeah,
build.
pretty custom.
Okay,
Similar to kind of what Pintail has,
okay,
and so that's the hope.
okay.
This is the Wilsons, is that who owns is it carving off a section of property that was owned by the folks that are in the front, right?
Yeah.
I've ridden my horse
Yeah.
in their arena before.
Judy and Tina?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so one thing and the reason it's exactly 1.62 is so we could keep the rest of their property in Greenbelt. We wanted to make sure that they could win on both sides. And
That makes
so-
sense.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chuck. Any questions, council? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the rezone of 62 acres of property located at 2053 West Grassy Plain Drive.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any discussion to the motion? Nope. All right, Councilmember Oaks.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Good luck, Trek. All right, item 6B, a resolution approving updates to the Kaysville Stormwater Management Plan. Come on down, Mr. Belknap.
This is what everybody wants to do on a Thursday night, is go through updates to the stormwater management.
Yes, we do.
Mayor and council, thank you. The city maintains a stormwater management plan as part of the requirement from the State Department of Environmental Quality, and that plan details the city's approach to stormwater, both from a construction standpoint, but also just from the way that we maintain the system, the convey out to the Great Salt Lake system. There was a special session after the regular legislative session that required us to make some changes to the management plan, and anytime there's a change to the plan, it requires that we bring that to a public meeting. There's three basic changes to the plan. The first is just adding some additional what's called BMPs, best management practices. That's ways that developers can help prevent pollution, sediment, things like that entering the storm drain during construction. There's also some changes with education. We used to hand out packets to contractors that detailed a lot of the requirements and information on the state level and the city level. Now instead, we utilize kind of an in-person educational opportunity, a training that's done on a county level with other cities. So we're just kind of memorializing that. But the main reason for changing the plan is the legislature was kind enough to make some changes with regards to enforcement. The stormwater pollution prevention plans for any construction site over an acre or that's near a sensitive area. If there's issues with that, we have a stormwater inspector. As he finds those, typically he's coordinating with the responsible party, with the permit holder, to get those resolved. But if there isn't a resolution, typically what we would do is, similar to code enforcement, kind of escalates to the point where, hey, we need all activity to shut down here so that this can be resolved. The legislature initially said that that's how they wanted it handled, was through stop work. They didn't like fines. So in a previous legislative session, they said you can't issue fines, you just got to do stop work orders. They then found, hey, this costs us more money to stop work on the sites, and it happens frequently enough. We want to take away city's ability to stop work, which we've now lost, and appreciate the development community's influence in the legislature for doing that, because now we're stuck with fines. And I've got a little bit of a burr under my saddle with this, because the fines are dictated by the state of what the amounts are.
They are. That's what I was going to ask you. I don't know if you can go to 425 of the packet, 426 actually, but those fines seemed extremely high.
Yeah, and the difficult thing with those is those fines, it's dictated by the state what it has to be, and those amounts are restricted on what you can do with them. They can only be used for education and outreach on stormwater.
And but it does say that they may be, they doesn't say shall be charged, but it says may be
Yeah, correct,
charged.
yeah. Our hope is that we avoid fining anybody.
Yeah, that's kind of my
That
hope.
as we work with the permit holders, that we can find a resolution. And the inspector that we've got is great in that regard, in working with people. But it bothers me to have
This,
that change made so abruptly, back and forth, kind of a 180. Whereas like a stop work order is very impactful in terms of like, hey, if that's what it's coming to, that's what it's gonna take. Let's get this resolved so that nothing else is happening on the site that's going to worsen the problem. So those are the main changes to the stormwater management plan. Are there any questions about the draft, about the plan in general?
I don't think there's any questions. I just don't like the fines. They are very excessive.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody tracks mud out on the street, it's just an automatic $300 fine. It should be something more like a reasonable amount, and that's not reasonable. And I don't know if we have any ability to change that fee schedule.
Now, so the way that the bill was written is, original drafts were up to, now it's just set in stone that it is what it is, on the amounts.
And I didn't know if this document was just plagiarized because it's got Salt Lake County all written all over it. But
Yeah, so the items, incorporating a lot of state things are just copy and paste from, the state. And the plan itself was put together in conjunction with JUB originally in 2012, I believe, 2010. So there may be items there that are
I mean, you look at some of
similar
them,
to other
you can
municipalities.
see the fines now. You can see
Yeah.
that they're,
So I have a question. The stop work order prior to this was instead of the fine.
Yeah.
You could just say, okay, stop and fix
Let's shut the
it.
site down, let's
Okay.
get this fixed. That
Right.
was nice because
You could
it does encourage
motivates
people to
people.
do something,
Right.
but it's also nice because, hey, with the equipment that you've got that's working and is busy,
Mm-hmm.
can we bring some of that over here and use those individuals to fix
Right.
this problem?
But now it's just a
And that's
fine
now
that just
gone.
keeps accruing.
Yeah, the work has to continue moving, has to continue happening.
Oh, that's
but
too
we-
bad.
We have this kind of weird fine mechanism, so.
so if like a person put a swimming pool in without getting a stormwater permit, you know, and you caught them, is it just automatically a $500 fine, or can you just say,
No,
we
I
may
think-
charge you,
Yeah.
but get a
I
permit
think
and get it
we
right?
We would stick with, in the management plan,
Yeah.
earlier on in the document, we're still using an escalating enforcement type of approach.
Okay,
If there's something extremely severe, yeah, we'd go right to like, hey, we've got to use the teeth. But it's better for everybody involved if you start with communicate and educate, and then similar to code enforcement, we're gonna remind, and then when we feel it's necessary, you unfortunately have to go to this level, so.
And so in order to enforce these fines, they go to the legal department, I guess, to,
We're currently working with a couple of other municipalities who
Okay.
basically put like a pseudo ticket book together.
oh, okay.
We would issue a physical ticket to the individual, and that would be followed up as well with some sort of electronic communication detailing the situation as well as the amount.
Wow. Just more work. Yeah.
Gotta love it.
so
Yeah.
Nick,
Okay.
if somebody received one of these tickets, is there a course for them to be able to say, I don't agree, I want a hearing?
Yeah, Mr. Belknap and I are in the process, as part of developing this ticket book, we've had several meetings, and we're in the process of developing some kind of internal review process, because, I mean, basic due process principles would
Sure.
require that, and we feel like that's also appropriate for them at some point to have the opportunity,
Right.
if they want to contest it or
Right.
explain what's going on, to
Right.
be able to do that. We haven't finalized anything, Mr. Belknap and I haven't, but that is something we're definitely working on.
Because, and the only reason I say it is there are instances where people do things that they don't realize are bad, and then in order for them to get them fixed, they don't have the ability to get the equipment or the people in to fix them.
Yeah.
And it might take time or
Yeah.
something.
Josh, how are these issues usually discovered? You've got guys out in the street?
Yeah,
just-
so the stormwater inspector, that's his full-time job.
So he
is
just goes out
driving
and
around the
keeps track.
city, and he's checking construction sites. He's also just checking on the general state of infrastructure. So as he's doing that, he's seeing a lot of things, but we also do get the benefit of the community sharing information with us. And I think a good example is down on Hill Street last year. We got a call from a neighbor of a resident who was doing a massive landscaping project in their yard. We sent the stormwater inspector out and found that over half of the road was now occupied with mounds of dirt and large boulders. And there wasn't enough room for like a wider vehicle to even get through in one location. So he showed up and was like, dude, we've got a major problem here. And the resident was fantastic. The resident was like, I've been like watching these guys the last couple of hours, and he's like, I don't know what to do. The contractor showed back up from a break, and that provided a really good opportunity for the inspector to like, hey, before you guys do anything else, we've at least got to get a portion of the roadway opened up here, both for residents, first responders, et cetera. But then shifting to like, then we need to talk about the ordinance, storing things in the roadway, and I think they gave them 24 hours. You've got a lot of material here, and it's not realistic to like, you got to get this all out, work through the night type thing. So by that next night, they had been able to get all the material moved into the property. Good educational opportunity for the contractor, who we've since worked with on other things. As well as the homeowner, just like, I'm so sorry, you know, I'm not trying to cause any problems, like, how can I help? So that's how we want it to go typically is, you know, there's the letter of the law, but I think we're here to like serve the community. We're here to protect the environment, certainly, but that's a two-handed approach of,
Right.
you've got to look at each case, and you've got to take into consideration, you know, what else is contextually going on here, so.
Okay, so the fines would really only be applied if someone
last-
said, forget
last
it, I'm not
resort.
going to do it. So
Yeah.
instead of a stop work order, which would be very impactful in the moment, you'd say, okay, well, then there's this fine.
And stop work orders were also a last resort.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
for sure.
we're not getting any response from you, or
Right.
you're continuing to fall short well of what needs to happen. And I think in the 9 years that I've been here, we've had 2 stop work orders.
Oh, okay,
that I
good.
can think of, so.
Okay.
It's a very rare occurrence, and we anticipate and hope for the same thing with fines.
Okay.
Just kind of disappointed that that's where it's landed.
Got it. Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember.
can I ask a
Hunt.
few
Sure.
questions? Sorry. Okay, so I just have like 3 questions, Josh.
Yeah.
What happens if they keep doing it? So say it's $500, they keep working without a permit, do they just keep getting fined, or?
So there are other escalating factors of being able to involve the state. And if we continue to find somebody, you know, that would be a problem where they're like, great, yeah, we'll take the fine, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. As we're able to involve the state, as we're able to even involve the county health department in things, that's where there's differentiation in other entities having the ability to potentially stop work or cause other actions to take place on the site.
Okay, cool. So one of my other questions is, does this apply only during construction? So I'm in law school now, so I live and breathe hypothetical situations. So if a person maybe had part of their yard landscaped, but they've got a large chunk that's not landscaped, does that still count as being under construction? And if their dirt is rolling off in
No.
other people's properties, is that part of this?
Yeah, so the fines here specifically apply to construction where the development or project is over an acre or is near a sensitive area. So if somebody's got something that's smaller than an acre that they're working on, but it's right next to a stream or a wetland or something like that, that individual is required to get what is called a SWIP, a stormwater pollution prevention plan. It's a permit process through the city, but the permit itself is coming from the state. And it details the requirements of what you've got to do, and the city's involvement with enforcing that permit. So in the situation of, somebody's working in their yard, if it was a large scale project that exceeds an acre, and that's an acre of disturbance, not just like I'm doing a little bit of something on a 1 acre piece of property, it's 1 acre of disturbance. Then that person would be required to get a permit through the state, and then we would administer the permit. Typically, we're only seeing like construction or remodeling, new structures, et cetera, that are getting these SWIP permits, and not somebody that's, they're working in their yard, or even a smaller remodel on a home probably isn't gonna have one, so.
Perfect. Well, I think that answered all my questions. Thanks, Josh.
Awesome. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. Council, we are ready. Okay, Councilmember Adams.
I'll make a motion that we approve action item B.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Nope. Okay, Councilmember Blackham.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Josh, for
Thank you very much.
putting that resolution together.
Thanks, Josh.
Council member reports. Do we have anything to report? I will tell you Scarecrow Week starts soon over at USU. It's really fun, and people can go there for free, walk around, see the Scarecrow displays, and learn about Utah State's Botanical Garden. It's a really fun event that they have every year. Our Youth City Council has a Scarecrow. It's about elections, and so it's kind of fun. They've got a couple scarecrows with a ballot box, and they've done a lot of work
Are they
to get
stuffed in the
that.
box?
I'm not, no, I don't know. I haven't checked it, but no. But they work hard, and that's a really fun thing for them to participate in. We do have a Meet the Candidate meeting coming up, sponsored by the Utah League of Women's Voters. That will be October 5th, which is a Monday, and that will be hosted here at City Hall and produced by them, and all the city council and mayoral candidates will be invited, so we encourage everyone to attend that. Anyone else? Councilmember
I
Hunt.
think that might be on the 6th, Mayor.
Oh,
The
it's Monday
6th
the
is a
6th?
Monday.
Okay, Monday's the 6th, thank you.
Monday the 6th.
6 to 8 p.m.
I have one item.
Yes.
So, mosquito abatement has got to do a tax increase because they've had a need for a new pesticide storage facility down at their current building down here. So they need to do that, and they have increased people over the last 10 or so years since they remodeled the building. And right now, back in 10 years ago, and they've increased their part-time by about double. And back in the day, you might get 1 or 2 women, and now half their workforce, part-time, is women, and they need to increase the size of the locker room. And I don't know if you've seen, there's been 3 deaths of West Nile virus in Davis County. And so one of the things mosquito abatement does down there is they do a lot of testing for mosquito pools and things, and they need to increase the size of the lab. So with the tax increase, it will be about $7 or $8 per household. It's less than $1 per month per household throughout the county, but it needs to go on the agenda. It doesn't have to be an action item of any kind, but it just has to be on the agenda to make people aware that they are going to be doing an increase. I don't know where it would fall in the agenda. Maybe ask Nick. It can either be like one of the first things to call to the public, or somewhere where you put presentations and awards. But it just has to be noticed that people know that it's coming up, but it's not voted on.
Even though it's a special district, right? It has
Right.
nothing to do with us.
Has nothing really to do with us, but it is part of Kaysville, and we do have a representative. But the state requires that each city has to at least put that notice on their agenda so people see and are aware of it. They'll still have to do all the tax notices that we have to do, and we have to send the first one out soon because they are on a calendar year and not a fiscal year.
Okay,
And so either this next month or just before January, we need to just
Okay.
have an item on the agenda that just says proposed tax increase.
And can we preface that with not Kaysville City,
Yeah.
Sure.
sort of?
I'll reach out to mosquito
Okay.
abatement and see what they need, and we'll make sure that we get that on a
And,
future
and they
agenda.
do
Okay.
have a paper, and we've had him put all the bullet points and the increase, the amount, and all the bullet points of why it needs to be done. That is also going to be published on their website, and it might be something we want to put on our website.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, that's interesting, because for the landfill, for example, we don't really notice those things, do we, when it's a board meeting decision?
I don't know if it's a special service district thing that they
That's-
require, but they say you have to put it
Interesting, okay.
on, that you have to at least put it on the agenda. No vote at all. It's not going to be an action item of any kind. It's just to make the public aware.
If there's a way we can do it so it's not confusing.
Yeah, I'll reach out
Okay,
to
thank
mosquito
you.
abatement, I'll get that put together.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks, Nick.
We do have a lot of mosquitoes, so I'm hoping that they'll have stronger mosquito sprays.
Just- And right now, we've got, there's one of them, one of the species that is just crazy right now.
And we've had 3 deaths. I didn't realize
3
that.
deaths,
In
yeah.
Davis County,
Yep.
West Nile,
Yep.
this year.
Yep.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the third one was just last week.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's too bad. Okay.
I think they're, not, my mistake. 2 deaths, 3 confirmed cases.
Okay.
2 deaths.
Okay.
And both of the deaths were people who were 85 years, but one of them was sick and the other one was very healthy.
Really?
Yeah, so, and then the other one didn't really know he had it too much, and they
Okay.
finally figured it out. So I'm sorry, I was wrong. It's 3 cases, 2 deaths.
Okay. Well, thank you for keeping us up to date on that.
Okay.
That's too bad. Okay. All right. Anyone else? No? All right, Jason?
Just a calendaring item, Mayor. We are looking forward to our strategic planning work session with the council, and a lot of people have responded to, have responded to the doodle poll. Looks like Wednesday, October 22nd is the day that is working for most people so far, but I wanted to confirm with everybody if that date indeed works. Yeah, I don't know.
That's great. I didn't
That's
respond
okay.
to the doodle, but that's great.
I'm not sure if anyone else, a lot of people had, but a lot of people had not, so sounds like that date's gonna work. Okay,
I do have I have a
Oh.
board meeting in Bountiful,
That's
but I
right.
will try to leave a couple minutes early, and I might be a couple minutes late, so,
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
we're starting at 7?
And that'll be a 7 o'clock meeting,
Right.
correct? Yeah.
Okay.
Great, we'll get that official.
Invitation sent out, or do we need to put it?
Yeah, I'll work with Anne Marie, we'll get a calendar invite put out for that date. Thanks. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will so move.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do we need a break, or are we good to keep going, guys? Okay. Welcome to the Kaysville Business Park Architectural Review Committee meeting. We have one item on our agenda, and I will turn the time to Melinda.
Okay. Well, this is for a wall sign that would be located on the east side of a building at 865 West, 450 North, and Suite Number 1. So you can see from the slide here where that S1 is, that is where that sign would be located. Here's just another view of where the building is and where that sign would go. They would just put this, it would be illuminated, so there would be lighting behind it, but it wouldn't be a digital sign. This is called, or for the business called OptConnect. So what it would look like in the evening with it illuminated. We have reviewed this to determine that it meets code for our sign, and therefore we're recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. We do have a representative here if we have any questions. Do we have any questions?
We should have her talk since she came and said,
Is there anything that you would like to share with us? If so, come to the mic. You're good? Okay, all right. Okay, thank you for sitting through our meeting. All right, council, would someone like to make a motion then? We have no questions or thoughts?
I'll make a motion that we approve an illuminated wall sign for OptConnect at 865 West, 450 North, Suite 1.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
sure.
Okay, Member Blackham.
Whatever. Oh, Member Black.
Or Adams.
Sure, aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you for being here, just in case. We appreciate your time. And would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
We like those.
So
easy
moved.
ones.
Yeah, right?
So moved.
All in favor? Okay, thank you, everyone. Yes.
Yeah, the next one.
What did I just do?
How's it going, Nick?
I didn't apply to your text.